Are you struggling with fatigue with your inflammatory condition? Follow along with my video as we aim to unpick exactly why you're so tired and what we can hopefully do about it. Why am I so tired with my condition? It's such a common question that I come up against often, and I think it's really nice to delve into why you're so fatigued and actually what we can do hopefully to negate some of that. You may have experienced just utter fatigue, completely shattered, can't get going, and this often affects, number one, our mental health and our quality of life, but also just the drive to go and do something about it. I completely empathize with that. As a physiotherapist, we get a little bit more time with people to really unpick how you're doing, not from just a blood work level, but mainly from a level of how are you coping with life. Something that I've definitely found often, and I hope it relays to you guys, is that you might be doing great on a blood test. You see your doctor, who's obviously they want the best for you, but time is limited. You have short periods where they just look at a screen of your blood and go, oh, you're actually doing really well. Well, there's surviving and there's thriving. And hopefully through clinicians like physios, chiros, people kind of outside of that realm, that extra bit of time and that functional therapy, we do often realize there's normally a big gap between you're doing well on bloods and how you're actually living. One of the main things is fatigue. So I had a patient this week who I just had to do a video about. She's a wonderful person. She's actually got psoriatic arthritis, which is part of the AxSpA family. It's a little bit more peripheral than central, but the same applies to this condition. I asked her how her fatigue is, and essentially she said to me, oh, I'm just shattered, and she started to, you could kind of see the blame game. I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. So I sat and I just discussed, well, essentially, we talk about this volume analogy that I've discussed in a previous video. To summarize really quickly, with any inflammatory condition, but particularly AxSpA, your volume of immune response is higher. It's turned up to level 13. Now, an immune response, yes, that means that our swelling will be higher, particularly in our spinal joints and our pelvis, but also that is energy deficient. You are using energy to have that immune response, and because yours is cranked up a wee bit, then you're actually using more energy per day than other people. So at rest, you are working harder than me, okay? So I discussed this with her and I said, your fatigue isn't you being lazy or you not doing enough. It simply is one of the consequences to having an inflammatory condition. And she just burst out crying because it was something that no one had explained to her, and she was just really getting in the weeds of beating herself up for not doing enough. That's very enlightening to me, and I've started to discuss this more and more with patients of, actually, yeah, you got to understand this key component. What we want to avoid as therapists is this boom or bust cycle, which is really common. We try our best, but let's be honest, we have life to do. What that means is, let's say you're in a pretty good day, you feel like you've got a lot of energy, it's about looking about what needs to get done, and maybe not doing absolutely everything for the next few days you're out on your feet. You're going to fail at this, and you're going to nail this in equal measures. What I like to do with my patient is chat through, what are our main things in life that we love doing? What are our things that need to be done? Now, the boom or bust essentially is trying to get us out of this cycle of days where we do very, very, very little. And the only reason is if we're inflamed and if we're in pain, by doing little, that pain will atrophy our muscle. Meaning that when we try and do other things or push our capacity, then we can actually have more muscular pain on top of inflammatory pain, which is not what you need. So, fatigue, the main thing I want you to take away today is that this isn't your fault, okay? Your body is working much harder than the general populations, and that we should try and manage it by taking down the peaks of our pushing and trying to pull up those days where we're not doing as much. Lots of people say diet, their drug regimen, getting moving in the morning, positive mental attitude, all of those things, they do play a big role in how fatigued we feel. What I'd like to say is we do know that our exercise, number one, is a huge component of our management of axial spondyloarthritis. So essentially, by getting moving, we have to move in the morning to move that swelling through our spine and kind of just get going in the morning. But also general levels of activity, like exercising, have been shown in studies to reduce our overall level of fatigue and improve our quality of life. That can look like anything: line dancing, swimming. I get a lot of patients, if they have access to a stationary bike, jump on a bike in the morning for 10 minutes after your spinal movements, grab a coffee and just start moving, okay? Get that low level exercise in and you'll feel much better about your day. So I hope that helps cover up why you may be so fatigued with your inflammatory condition. Now that patient really sticks in mind, and I think there's plenty of others out there that probably are beating themselves up far too much as to why they're not doing as much as they should, okay? So, in summary, we are not fully in control of our fatigue levels with an inflammatory condition. We can definitely do things that are positive: low-level exercise, good eating, but essentially sometimes we might need to go to our rheumatologist or our therapist to discuss these things and kind of make a bit of an action plan to avoid that boom or bust cycle. Thanks for joining me again. Keep following along with the series as we keep delving into different questions and discussions around AxSpA and how we can manage this, but particularly to improve your quality of life throughout. Thank you very much.